All right, today we're cracking open a nearly 400-year-old poem to find something, well, something we're all still looking for. A recipe for joy. The chef, none other than the poet John Milton, and his creation is this beautiful poem called L'Allegro. So, let's see what ingredients he thinks we need.
I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? What are the actual ingredients for a day that just feels good? A day filled with real happiness. We look for answers everywhere, in apps, in self-help books. But what if one of the best answers has been hiding in plain sight since the 17th century?
You heard that right. Back in 1645, John Milton, yep, the same guy who'd later write the incredibly serious epic Paradise Lost, he actually laid out this detailed blueprint for a day of active, vibrant cheerfulness.
He called it L'Allegro. In Italian, that literally means the happy man. And it's what's known as a pastoral poem, which just means it's set in this idealized, perfect countryside. Its entire goal is to celebrate a life of what he calls mirth. So what exactly goes into that?
Okay, so let's break down Milton's formula. We're going to look at this recipe step by step, starting with the most important ingredients, the ones you have to get right before you can even begin.
So the very first thing Milton does is just kick melancholy to the curb. He basically says, "Get out of here, you loathed melancholy." And then, in its place, he calls on a guide, who is basically the human form of the very feeling he wants to capture. The first lesson is clear. Happiness doesn't just show up. You have to actively invite it in.
So who is this guide? Her name is Mirth. But she's not just a feeling, you know? In Milton's poem, she's a real character. She's the master of ceremonies for this perfect day. She's the spark that lights everything else up. And as we're about to see, she's got some pretty impressive credentials.
Milton gives Mirth this classical, almost divine name, Euphrosyne. In Greek mythology, she's one of the three graces, a goddess of good cheer and joy. So, up in heaven, she's Euphrosyne. But for you and me, she's just heart-easing Mirth. And her family tree? Just as impressive. Milton imagines her as the daughter of Venus, the goddess of love, and Bacchus, the god of wine and good times. I mean, talk about a pedigree for a party. And, crucially, he asks her not to come alone, because joy loves company. And what a crew she brings with her. You've got jest and youthful jollity, of course. You've got quips and cranks, which are basically clever jokes and witty remarks. You've got wreathed smiles everywhere. And my favorites, sport that wrinkled care derides, which is fun that literally laughs in the face of your worries, and laughter holding both his sides. This is not a quiet little chuckle. This is that deep, uncontrollable, can't-breathe kind of laughter. That's the team you want for a happy day.
So, you've gathered your ingredients, you've got Mirth and a crew ready to go. Now where do you take them? This is the next part of the recipe, the setting. For Milton, joy really blossoms when you immerse yourself in the world around you.
See, L'Allegro, the happy man. He isn't sitting in a dark room meditating. No, he's out and about. He's walking through a beautiful, vibrant countryside. He is an active participant, just taking in all these simple, perfect scenes of rural life.
Milton starts painting this picture for us with these really vivid, earthy colors. You can almost feel that crisp morning air as he describes these russet lawns and fallows gray. Those are the reddish-brown fields and the pale, plowed earth just waiting for something new to grow.
And then the whole scene comes alive. He sees sheep, just peacefully grazing, wandering through the landscape. It's this image of pure, uncomplicated peace, a world without any stress or hurry.
And right here, Milton finishes the picture. Perfectly manicured meadows dotted with colorful daisies, sparkling little brooks, and these big, wide rivers. This isn't some wild, scary version of nature. It's harmonious, it's balanced, it's welcoming.
But the day isn't just about nature. As evening starts to roll in, the happy man turns to the joys of art. He asks Mirth to wrap him in soft Lydian airs, which was a type of gentle, pleasing music, and have it married to immortal verse, or timeless poetry. So for Milton, a truly joyful life has to have this balance, the beauty of the natural world and the beauty of human creation.
But here's the thing. To really get Milton's recipe for joy, you have to know that he wrote it as part of a pair. At the time, England was in the middle of huge political and religious turmoil, and Milton was thinking a lot about the best way to live a good life. So L'Allegro has a twin, a companion poem, that explores a totally different path. And that companion poem is called Il Penseroso, which means the melancholy man. And as you can see here, they are perfect opposites. While L'Allegro is all about the active life, full of joy and community out in the daylight,
Il Penseroso celebrates the contemplative life. It's about quiet thought, studying, all happening at night and in seclusion. It finds its own deep satisfaction not in laughter, but in things like philosophy and tragedy. So Milton isn't saying one is better, he's just presenting two distinct, valid ways of being.
Now, Milton's recipe wasn't just some personal thought experiment. It became this huge source of inspiration. The vision of joy that he created in Le Allegro, especially when you see it next to its thoughtful twin, has echoed through the centuries, influencing all kinds of artists. You can really see its influence stretching across time here. In 1740, the great composer, Handel, creates this major piece of music based on both poems. Then, in the early 1800s, William Blake, an artist who was obsessed with Milton, makes this incredible series of illustrations. Washington Irving even quotes a line in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And almost a century after that, you've got composers still referencing the poems. This thing had legs.
And this is how Milton ends the poem. It's a simple but really powerful declaration. He's talking directly to Mirth, and he says, look, if this is the life you can give me, a life of nature, art, laughter, friends, then that is the life I choose. It's a conscious commitment to a joyful life.
So, what's the big takeaway here? L'Allegro is so much more than just a pretty poem about the countryside. It's really a philosophical argument. It's a call to action. It tells us that happiness isn't passive. It's something we build, deliberately, by embracing the world and by making sure we invite Mirth and her crew along for the ride.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Milton's ingredients were larks and meadows, poetry, and laughter holding both his sides. So I'll leave you with this question. In our crazy, modern world, what would go on your list? What are the essential ingredients in your recipe for a perfectly happy day?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a poem that's almost 400 years old, but feels like it could have been written yesterday. It boils down to one huge question. Where do we find our best ideas? In the middle of all the noise and action, or in the quiet of our own minds? So, the poet John Milton didn't just give us one answer, he actually wrote two poems as a pair. On one hand, you've got Allegro, which means the happy man. It's all about a life of parties, friends, and bright sunshine. But on the other hand, there's Il Penseroso, or the thinker. This one explores a totally different path, a life of solitude, deep thought, and the quiet of the night. He's basically laying out two completely different ways to live a full creative life. All right, so we've got this fork in the road, right? For this explainer, we're going to head down the path of Il Penseroso, the thinker. Let's see where this journey takes us. Now, this poem kicks off with a bang. The speaker doesn't just kind of ignore shallow happiness, he actively rejects it. He calls it a vain, deluding joy. He sees all that loud, surface-level fun as basically meaningless. The brood of folly without father bread is just a fancy way of saying it's flimsy. It doesn't come from anything real or substantial. It's like he's doing a mental spring clean to make room for something much deeper. So, if he's kicking joy to the curb, what's he inviting in to take its place? Well, instead of your typical muse of happiness, the speaker calls on a very, very different source of inspiration. He welcomes the goddess Melancholy. But hold on, we have to pause here. Because when Milton says melancholy, he is not talking about sadness or depression like we do today. For him, it was something powerful, something wise, and even holy. Yeah, this Miltonic melancholy isn't about feeling down at all. Think of it more like a superpower for deep thinking. It's that state of quiet, serious focus that lets you be truly creative. It's the headspace you need to really start understanding the world. And get this, Milton even gives this goddess a very specific family tree. Her mother is Vesta, the goddess of the sacred flame, so there's this element of holiness. Her father is Saturn, a solitary god tied to science and deep thinking. So what does that tell you? His version of melancholy isn't born from darkness. It's the child of wisdom and sanctity. Okay, so what does a day, or maybe I should say a night, in the life of this thinker actually look like? Let's follow him on his journey and see what this contemplative life is all about. His day really gets started when everyone else's is ending. He prefers to be out walking at night, totally unseen by anyone, with the moon as his guide instead of the sun. And this is key. It's not just about hiding away. It's about deliberately choosing a time and a place that's free from all the chaos of the daytime world. And this is where he finds his inspiration. Unlike the social guy from the other poem, who's all about feasts and crowds, the thinker's muse is found in total solitude. It's just him, the moon, and the song of the nightingale, the bird of the night. And when he goes inside, does the quest for knowledge stop? No way. It just moves to this incredible symbolic place, a high, lonely tower. You can just picture it, right? The only light for miles around is his lamp, burning away deep into the night. And it's so important to realize that this solitude is not empty. It is packed. He's deep diving into philosophy with Plato, he's exploring mystical texts for secret wisdom, and he's losing himself in epic stories. You could totally think of this lonely tower as the 17th century version of a deep workspace. It's a deliberate retreat from distraction, kind of like a digital detox but for the 1600s, all in the name of focused learning. So as you can see, every single choice the thinker makes is the polar opposite of the happy man's life, where one picks the sun, the other picks the moon. One listens to the lark in the morning, the other to the nightingale at night. It's a conscious choice, every single time, to turn away from the loud, external world and go inward. So all of this, the solitude, the late-night studying, the wandering under the moon, what's it all for? Where is this all headed? What's the ultimate goal of living this way? Well, his personal quest for knowledge eventually leads him to a different kind of space, a spiritual one. He moves from his tower to a quiet monastery or a grand church. And here, the idea is that the beauty of the architecture and the powerful sound of a pipe organ will lift his mind beyond just reading books and into a state of pure ecstasy, a direct experience of the divine. You see what Milton's doing? He's basically giving us a roadmap, a kind of ladder to climb. Step 1, embrace being alone. Step 2, use that quiet to pursue deep wisdom. Step 3, find divine beauty in art and holy places. And all of this is building toward one final, ultimate prize. And here it is. This is the grand prize. The end game isn't just to be smart or well-read. It's for a whole lifetime of deep thought and experience to build up into something more, something he calls a prophetic strain. This means reaching a level of wisdom so profound that you can see the world with a kind of divine clarity and insight. So let's step back for a second. Why are we still talking about a 17th century poem about being alone? Why does this idea still hit so hard, centuries later? Well, for one thing, its influence was just massive. I mean, countless other poets were inspired by it. The incredible artist William Blake created famous illustrations for it, and even the great composer Handel adapted it into a major musical work. This theme of finding meaning in your own inner life is just, well, timeless. So what's the bottom line? Milton's poem is making this powerful case that the real breakthroughs, whether it's in art or science or just figuring yourself out, they often require us to step away from all the constant noise of the world and just be alone with our thoughts. And that leaves us with a really powerful question for our own time. In our world of endless notifications and constant connection, Milton is urging us to ask, what incredible insights might we be missing out on if we don't dare to choose the path of quiet contemplation every once in a while?
All right, let's dive into the work of a literary giant, John Milton. He wrote these two masterpieces that, at first glance, seem like they're from totally different worlds. But what if I told you there's a secret connection hiding in plain sight? So, let's meet our two stars. On the left, we've got l'allegro, which is Italian for the happy man. He's the guy who's always the life of the party, super social, bright, loves being around people. And then on the right, we have Il Penseroso, or the pensive man. He's the complete opposite, the quiet, introspective, deep thinker who's totally content with his own thoughts.
So you've got the classic extrovert and the classic introvert. You couldn't get more different, right? Well, that's what makes this so interesting. What if they're not opposites at all? What if they're secretly twins?
Because this is where it gets really cool. Once you look past the different vibes and start to dig a little deeper, you find something absolutely mind-blowing. These two poems, despite their clashing personalities, are built on the exact same foundation. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty here, because the details are just brilliant. Both poems start with a 10-line intro. But get this, l'allegro, the happy poem, starts by kicking out melancholy, and Il Penseroso, the thoughtful poem, starts by kicking out joy. It's a perfect flip, and it doesn't stop there. They have the same rhythm, the same meter, and even the exact same complicated rhyme scheme. Structurally, they are literally mirror images of each other. Now, this wasn't just some happy accident. There's a name for this. They're called companion poems.
Milton did this on purpose. He designed them to be a pair, two separate pieces that are meant to be experienced together to get the full, complete picture of what it means to be human.
So, okay, they share the same secret DNA. But this is where the fun really begins. Milton uses that identical structure to show just how incredibly different these two moods and worlds really are.
First up, let's look at their muses, their guiding spirits. For L'Allegro, the muse is Mirth, who's the daughter of Venus, the goddess of love. So, all about connection and life. But for Il Penseroso, the muse is Melancholy, the daughter of Saturn, the god of solitude and deep thought. So right from birth, they're on totally different paths.
And check out how they dress. Mirth is in these flowing white robes, a symbol of light and openness. Melancholy, though, is wrapped completely in black. But here's the amazing part. It's not because she's gloomy. Milton says her face is so divinely bright that we mortals can't even look at it directly, so she has to veil herself in darkness. How cool is that?
And the places they hang out, worlds apart. Allegro takes us through sunny fields, busy little villages, and fun towns full of people. Il Penseroso, on the other hand, leads us to quiet, lonely towers, libraries packed with philosophy books, and makes us think about these deep, tragic stories. One is all about the world outside, the other is about the world inside.
But this wasn't just Milton playing around with abstract ideas. A lot of people believe he was actually pulling from his own life, which gives these poems a really personal, human feel.
And this is what makes it so powerful. It's thought that L'Allegro, the happy man, is basically a portrait of Milton's best friend, a really cheerful guy named Charles Diodati. And Il Penseroso, the pensive man, well, that's pretty much a self-portrait of Milton himself, the serious, scholarly, deep thinker.
So let's put it all together. We've got two poems. They're identical in structure, but total opposites in feeling. And they might even be based on real people. So what's the big point here? What's the main takeaway?
And here it is, the heart of the whole thing. Milton isn't setting up a battle and asking us to pick a side. By making these poems structural twins, he's showing us that joy and contemplation aren't rivals. They are both absolutely essential parts of a complete, fulfilling life.
And, isn't that just a timeless truth? It's so real. We all need that amazing energy we get from our friends and from being out in the world. That's our inner Allegro. But we also need that quiet, peaceful time to just be alone with our thoughts, our inner Il Penseroso. You need both. They're both incredibly valuable.
Milton wrote these almost 400 years ago, but the question he's asking feels like it could have been written yesterday. So, as you go about the rest of your day, just think about it for a second. Which mood is guiding you right now? Are you the happy man or the pensive one? The beautiful thing is, there's no wrong answer.